Across the FGC, debates for or against a certain type of technique have waged on for about as long as the name of the technique itself: infinitely. Infinite combos can continue indefinitely, as long as the player utilizing it can input the exact timings and moves required to achieve it, with the added benefit that so long as you continue the infinite, your opponent has zero methods of recourse. Infinites exist across multiple titles in the FGC, some still active and some patched out, from the myriad infinite combos of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 to the patched out Fei Long infinite on Jury in Street Fighter 4. The FGC as a whole has a long and storied past with infinites in their games, and Smash Bros. Is no different. In Super Smash Bros. Melee, there exists exactly one infinite which has caused quite the rumbling: wobbling. Today we will discuss the lasting implications this tool and lack thereof could have on our title. Wobbling is a technique in Super Smash Bros. Melee that you've probably heard of at some point in your career as a spectator or player of the Smash franchise. It's pretty simple to employ, which luckily makes it pretty simple to explain. It can only be performed by the Ice Climbers during their grab. Here are the Ice Climbers, Popo and Nana, the stars of our show today. In order to perform a wobble with them, you just need to grab your opponent and alternate a pummel with generally a forward or down tilt from Nana at exactly 200 BPM. This makes the climbers alternate their grab pummels and omits an escape option to mash out of the grab, since the opposing character will be stuck in hit animation during the mash out phase. Wobbling can be performed at any percent on any character in the game, permitted that Nana is alive and synced properly to Popo. It's unknown exactly when wobbling was discovered, and all that exists now of its concrete origins are underground rumblings from old school legends and hearsay posted to message boards. However, we do know a few things. Although wobbling was most certainly discovered before 2006, and according to most accounts by an unnamed Japanese player, the first known video of a wobble was uploaded in May of 2006 as a demonstration of the infinite technique by user Liam T, and it didn't have the name we know it by today until a Northern California tournament later in 2006. NCT2. Upon looking at the bracket for NCT2, nothing entirely notable stands out from the placements until you see a player named Wobbles hailing from the Texas and Arizona regions, who placed 9th with the Ice Climbers. Ken, the greatest player in the world in that era, named the Ice Climbers' infinite grab technique Wobbling after the player of the same name would utilize the technique to get just outside of a top 8 finish at what is listed as his second tournament ever. From 2006 through the dark ages of Melee, the practice known as wobbling would make some relative waves throughout the professional scene. Posts on Smash boards debating the move would pop up here and there, or Ice Climbers players would outplace their seed, causing more stir. In 2007, a Smash boards post from Wobbles himself appeared, explaining how to perform the infinite in layman's terms. In 2013, however, something happened that would shake the professional Smash Bros. Scene to its absolute core. By 2013, EVO was essentially the Super Bowl for the fighting games community. It held the most prestige, generally garnered the biggest number of entrants, and was seen as a culmination of both grassroots and developer-supported tournaments to crown the #1 player in each respective game being played at the event. Through hard community effort and donations from nearly every player in the community, including an astonishing $20,000 from Nova from Australia, Melee found itself on the main stage of EVO 2013, the first time the game had been at the event since 2007. And wobbling would be legal. Now, this wasn't the first tournament where wobbling was legalized, and in the years between NCT2 and EVO 2013, wobbling's allowance was basically up to the discretion of the TO. Tournaments all over the world have been running with wobbling legal, but now Melee was on a huge stage with potentially hundreds of thousands of people watching. There was never a better time to show off our game than now, and now, with all eyes watching, we had a rule set that allowed for an infinite combo, like so many other FGC favorites. So what happened? Well, true to his namesake, Wobbles wobbled his way to the top of the bracket, eagerly awaiting his opponent from the comfort of winner's side of Grand Finals. Of course, there were non-wobbling victories in the mix as well, such as the contentious winner's finals match between Wobbles and the Puff God HBox. In Game 2, Wobbles narrowly clutched out a victory on HBox after being sent down to one solo Popo, or is often dubbed Sopo, against Hungrybox's final 2 stocks. No mean feat for Popo. This Game 2 win would be a cherry on top of Wobbles' victory, which came sooner than everyone expected. Wobbles took Game 3 in a harrowing last stock situation, then both players had to be informed that this top 8 match was only a best of 3. After dropping off Hungrybox in the losers bracket, Wobbles would later face off against the tournament's eventual champion Mango in Grand Finals, only taking a single game from the victor. So a wobbler didn't win the tournament. Wobbling isn't broken then, right? Or maybe the only reason wobbles even placed so highly to begin with was because the infinite combo was legal. Could it be both? Neither? These questions and many more began to plague our scene like a blight as the community's doors opened and our scene grew exponentially after our time on the international stage at EVO. EVO held another notable Ice Climbers run in 2015 when the Facebook group Melee Hell sponsored the veteran Ices Chudat to go to the event. Ironically, however, even with wobbling legal, Chudat's most impressive performance at this tournament didn't involve the technique. Remember earlier when we discussed how impressive it was that Wobbles was able to make a comeback using only Sopo? That's because besides not being able to wobble, the Ice Climbers are at an extreme disadvantage when the AI-controlled Nana is killed, leaving only Popo for the player to control. There are some slight advantages to not having to worry about Nana, but that pales in comparison to the disadvantages that come with only having Sopo, which include but are not limited to a significant decrease in grab follow-ups, weaker attacks across the board, and a neutered recovery. Enter Chudat vs Hugs at EVO 2015. The two must play a best of 3 match to make it into top 8 at the event, while the loser gets 9th place and goes home, placing outside of the money. The set count is 1-1. Game 3 looks like it's Hugs for the taking. With just over 3 minutes left on the clock, Hugs is up 2 stocks to Chudat's Sopo. No wobbling on the table and completely disadvantaged, Chudat does the impossible and patiently engages with Hugs until a deafening outcome cries across the venue.
He gets the grab, he's gonna down throw, not able to get much off the
But don't be mistaken, the narrative that day certainly wasn't that Chudat made an impossible comeback, but that Hugs choked a victory. Why exactly is that the way Ice Climbers players and their sets are seen by our community as a whole? Is it because they're the only character with an infinite in the game? It's not like coming back from a losing matchup with a hand tied behind your back is some small feat. Throughout the golden age of wobbling, we saw many incredible players perform some remarkable feats, from well-known players suffering seemingly random upsets to the rise of infinite numbers with his breakout performance at Pound 2016. And how can we talk about the golden age of wobbling without mentioning Bananas, author of Wobbling is Dope, I'm Taller Than Fiction? Bananas, one of the greatest Ices of all time, accomplished historic gains for Ice Climbers, beating players like Fiction, iBDW, Plup, and Hugs at Big House 8 to qualify into a summit spot at Smash Summit 7, where he also beat Mewtwo King and Mango, and had a nail-biting Game 5 set against Leffen. But for each gain the Ice duo made, the pot was stirred further and further until things came to a boil, and as we all know, fire is not good for Ice. From 2013 to 2019, the Ice Climbers were thriving, seeing solid representation at tournaments of all skill levels and sizes, and solidly placed in the high mid-tier of the tier list. But if you haven't noticed by now, every advancement was met with increasingly loud pushback. There was constant discourse around the character and whether wobbling should be legal. It seemed like every couple of months a new Reddit thread or Twitter post would spark a new debate. Up until just last year, Ludwig Ogren's most watched video of all time was his 2016 masterpiece, Top 10 Salty Ice Climber Moments in Smash. From the moment EVO legalized the wobbling, it didn't really take long before Melee's top players and personalities had less than chill opinions on the pair.
Wobbling. Wobbling. Ugh.
Many pro wobblers believe that without wobbling, Ice Climbers become unviable, and the Melee scene loses out on one more character from its already limited cast. Ice Climbers has never been ranked substantially highly. While a character neighboring in their current tier, Pikachu, has won a major, even in the era of wobbling, Ices never took the crown. So why are we taking away the most powerful tool of a character that isn't even top tier? Ice Climbers semi-regularly appearing in top 8 doesn't feel absolutely game-breaking. It's always been easy to convince a top player with a sketchy matchup against Ices that wobbling is broken, but that doesn't mean they don't have any points. Directional influence has always been a defining feature of Smash games for giving players on the wrong end of a combo something to do. And while you might as well mash when the climbers grab you, if Nana is nearby, chances are they aren't going to let go, at which point you might as well get on Twitter. While super long cutscenes aren't unheard of in fighting games, in Melee it's rare to have so little control over your character for so long. Should a significant part of a character's punish game really be able to be mastered by rhythmic A-pressing, learnable in an afternoon? Besides, the modern hero Slug seems to make do with a more interesting playstyle using handoffs and desync combos. Anti-wobblers also have a strong point that wobbling is especially pernicious at low-level play. It's entirely likely that a new player wobbled out of their first bracket might feel more frustrated, especially if they just came from a YouTube video touting Melee's dynamic punish game. Ultimately, all of the Ice Climbers' love came to a quick and vehement end when an infamous post was made to Reddit claiming that the Tennessee Smash scene had made wobbling illegal, leading other tournaments here and there to follow suit. Soon after, Smash World Tour's first iteration announced that it would not be legalizing the technique, leading the greater Smash scene at large to ban the technique indefinitely, while still ultimately at the TO's discretion. And with the exit of Wobbling, many ice climbers saw their time at the scene coming to a close. It's always great to see more representation of different characters at a higher level. With the recent resurgence of Sheik and Peach at the top level, maybe it's time to rethink our rule set, which hasn't been revisited since 2018, and see if there's anything we can do to add more depth to the game we love so dearly. But what do you think? Are you pro Wobbling or pro ban? What characters would you love to see explored at the top level? Leave your comments below and subscribe to PGstats for more analytical Smash data.